the environment and the grit of the families that went there. They all survived in different ways.
You are the very definition of survival of the fittest.
With the books that had been written about the Galápagos affair and Dawes' book, it had to be really based in reality.
Nothing about our life here is magic. Then there's the issue of water. What issue? There is none.
My name is Michelle McGahey, and I am a production designer based in Queensland in Australia. And we are now going behind the scenes of Ron Howard's Eden. Well, because the story is so based in truth, and the Galápagos is really this one-off environment globally, it really sort of set up this sort of gritty, sort of mongrel, sort of, grubby environment that we wanted to keep it to. There was a lot of research that went into the project initially, and with the books that had been written about the Galápagos affair and Dawes' book, it had to be really based in reality. And, I spent time on Easter Island, didn't get to the Galápagos, but I sort of really understood that sort of spiritual side of those places. And what I remember was there's a lot of rock, very little vegetation, a lot of rock. They're harsh, they're open, the sun is blistering, you are blistering. There's no hiding from anything. From insects, animals, the heat, the sun, the rain, the storms, your feelings, all of this. In those sorts of places where, you've got nowhere to run to or, cover yourself emotionally, lots of feelings and all of this just come out. So I really understood the harshness of that place, but because I'd spent that time on Easter Island. And of course, Ron had wanted to do this project for a very long time. It was a passion project for him. And he had shot down in Australia previously, understood how the crews worked here. He felt like there was a location sort of within where he'd shot before that might work for this project. And our first discussions was basically about the environment and the grit of the families that went there and how they all survived in different ways in different parts.
Come see my garden.
Thank you.
There was a lot of Zooms, a lot of phone conversations. In the early days, there was a lot of discussion about when they were coming, when we'd actually shoot, budgetary, all those big broad stroke situations that we have to discuss. Meanwhile, while all of that's going on, the location supervisor and I are actually out scouring southeast Queensland and further north for all locations and any of the little environments that we needed for the story. Sending those videos back to Ron and all of that. And it was very exciting, uncovering locations here that could suit parts of Floriana, because the Galápagos has various little microclimates within each island. So incredible here in southeast Queensland. We do have, we have the sea, we have the beach, we have the bush behind the beach, then we have the hinterland. So within a short sort of space of time from the sea to the hinterland, you can find lots. And then you sort of go further north and then, more uncovers, it gets more rainforesty and all of that. So we did find an amazing location not far from, the sort of the hub of the production office, which was a hillside. It had to face a certain way. The arc of the sun had to be a certain thing. It had to be a certain degree of the slope to suit the location of where the Vintner's house was. And lo and behold, we found that. And we managed to find it facing west with the right arc of the sun for the right days we were going to shoot for our DP, Mathias.
No one else has been able to survive because life here is gruesome.
We did manage to find quite a bit of information to piece the whole thing together so that we could give Ron the right textures and environment as the background to the story. Mind you, we in the end, had about 5 weeks to build it. And by the time they pressed the go button, we had to build some trees, cactus, a boat. We had to build all that, Stamper's boat, build that. And we had to find some other locations further south and west for all the different microclimates on Floriana. And southeast Queensland actually sort of held all that, which was really incredible. So we had to have the beaches, the landing where everybody arrived at Post Office Bay. So there's a certain style of rock that exists there. So we had found a lovely location further north, which I think, a lot of us wanted to go and shoot in, but it was just problematic. It was too far away and therefore costly. But we did manage to find something just quite locally that had the right shape of the bay, the colour of the rocks, once the water hit it and all of that. It really worked for that Post Office Bay sort of moment. And you'll see that when you see the film, when everybody sort of arrives at the one spot, on the horizon is, the Stamper's boat and the Valero sort of pootling away, leaving them feeling very isolated. So there was the arrival, then there was the coastal areas where the Baroness and her two set up their camp, where she was going to Bilsey Hotel, and that was just back of the beach, basically. So, because we have a fairly sort of scrubby back of the beach situation here in southeast Queensland. And it was perfect for that Floriana environment. Low trees, twisted, still sandy but bushy. Snakes, we have snakes there, but it was perfect for that. In terms of the art direction and set decoration, definitely we wanted to keep it within the period. Also in the background of the characters as well, from Germany, bring some of they brought their personal stuff. The Wittmers brought all their books and everything that would teach them how to build the house, build the garden, do this, do that. So we were very conscious of making sure that was shown in the set decoration of their environment. Any props that they used had to be up to a certain year and decade or from some other background. Maybe it was from World War I or something like that. But you absolutely know it only had to stay within the decades of the piece.
Did our story involve these little safari outfits and that butterfly net?
A very tight, calm set. He is incredibly focused. He knows what he's going to do that day with his beautiful cast. And given, the fact that we were outside most of the time, he had a tight, hot schedule all day, every day. There was no respite, and his producer and first, Bill Connor, and between him, the DP, and Ron, they'd work out what they were going to do the night before and the morning of. They'd arrive at the set, they'd do a block through, and within 30 minutes to 45 minutes, they were shooting. They were incredibly focused, very sorted, very calm. You could ask questions as you needed. It was great.
Are you not the one?
No, I am, but I'm not his wife. Marriage makes you sick. I thought Lawrence was your darling.
There are many pests. Many pests.